And now it's time for Mob Talk Radio with your host, Jeff Canarsie.
And welcome to Mob Talk Radio. I am your host, Jeff Canarsie. Yes, we took extended week off. A lot is going on. Actually, there's a lot going on in the Joey Merlino trial, which I'm going to touch base on probably a little bit during this show today, and then probably a little more on the Dutch Schultz show, which is coming after this. It's been somewhat of a busy week. However, I do want to cover one thing before we get into the question. Normally, I don't do this, but I'm going to do this time just because it needs to be said. Jimmy Calandra, who is a mob rat, I guess took issue with an article that was written on our blog, and this article goes back, 9, 10, 11 months, almost a year. And the article about rats associating together, breaking parole, stuff like that. Apparently he didn't like it, and really, honest to God, wasn't really much said about him, but he wanted to act like a tough guy and make all kinds of threats, things. This is what these guys do. They everybody on social media, call them names, bully them. This is characters. These are the same they always were, and he's not the only one that does it. However, out of all the things that he did say to me, that sort of drove me nuts. He called me a junkie. First of all, I'm not a drug user, never been a drug user, never will be a drug user. That is not my game. Anybody that knows me, but it just shows the depth of depravity they go to try to smear you because they don't like what you have to say. Now, the case in point is this. If you turn down the volume, turn the channel. I didn't say anything that was untruthful. Jimmy obviously has problems, and like a moron, took to social media to sort of vent, which I thought was really hilarious. He called me a dick sucker, a Jew, a nobody, a coward. But here's the fact. The fact is I'm not a coward. He also said I hid. I don't hide. Everybody knows where I'm at. That's no fucking secret. Everybody thinks that's a secret. It's not a secret. So I'm not a junkie. I think he may probably have me confused with himself to some extent. I'm not really sure that I can do that Jimmy can't do and people like Jimmy like him can't do. I put my head on a fucking pillow at night. I don't worry about nothing. I don't worry about the cops. I don't even worry about my old friends in the neighborhood coming after me. You know why? Because I didn't rat. I never told on no in my life. You live with that. Not me. I don't got to live with that problem because I would never do that. I would be a man and take the time and just shut my mouth. Do that. And it's the reality of life you got to deal with. So, all of this, you're going to crack my fucking head and break my skull and all of these little colorful things that you continue to say and have said. I'm not afraid and I don't give a fuck. Stay where you're at, stay a rat, and just leave me out of it. You cannot, go to Jerry Capisci with that mouth. Watch what happens. You'll have the FBI so far up your ass, you're going to need, Brill cream. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm just bringing it up here because people need to know that this is the way that people like this behave. Whatever heat him and others might have had back in 1980 was 1980. That's not today. I can walk any neighborhood in the borough of New York City, and I can hold my head up high. Nobody fucks with me, knows who I am. I have to hold my head in shame. I can put my head on my pillow at night, and I can go to sleep, and I don't have to deal with a moniker like rat. So, all of that being said, I'm only bringing it up because there's theory out there, and there's a lot of people on Facebook and social media that follow these guys. They think that they're like gods, and you don't realize who the fuck these people are not quality people. You know what I mean? They're not like doing all this charitable shit. They're not what charitable shit are they doing? The only thing that you ever know about is when they profile it on themselves because they want to make themselves look better. The truth is they're self-serving and all they care about is themselves, and that's the reality of who they are. So maybe you should pick different people to look up to, is all I'm saying. Because the last person I'm looking up to is a fucking rat. That's the truth. So, all that being said, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get into the Q&A. And, Jimmy, if you're listening, which I know you are, because they all hate my show, they all hate me, but they all listen all the time. Knock it off with the fucking stupid shit. Keep your mouth shut, mind your business, go about your life. That's what I do. I don't come looking for you. You opened this door. I didn't. Keep your name out of my mouth. You know what? I'll say what the fuck I want. I've been doing this for years. I'm going to keep talking. I'm saying what I want. You're not intimidating at all in any sense of the fucking imagination. You were, not are. And that's the truth. All right? I'm not saying you're weak. I'm not saying you're a pussy. I'm not saying nothing like that. What I am saying to you is, know what you're doing. Think about what you're doing. Like, it's not too bright, like, going around making threats and stupid shit on social media. It's like, you got no brains. Come on, bro, you're better than that. At least I thought you were smarter than that. But, once again, I got to go back to, you're a rat. This is what rats... these are what tough guys do. They want to be tough on the internet. They'll try to find out where you live and do things to you. But, just a word, just a word as a reference. You might want to be real careful saying you're going to come to where I live and do something like that. You don't know me. You don't know who I might know. So you might want to be real careful making stupid, unhinged, bipolar things, because it doesn't work. It's stupid. You need to just move on with your life. Apparently you can't. We'll be back and we'll get to the Q&A. And welcome back to Mob Talk Radio. This is your host, Jeff Canarsi. I apologize for the first part of that show. It's probably something I shouldn't do. Not because I'm worried, but just because some people aren't worth the fucking time that you're going to take to say a bunch of stupid shit. And it's stupid shit, and these guys get mad over absolutely nothing. You would think that just the fact that his name is showing up in a blog anywhere at this point, that would be good for him. You know, because these guys can't find work. That's just the reality. Anyway, we're going to get to the Q&A, and this is where you submitted your questions, and I give you answers. There were a whole lot of good questions. A lot of them are repeats from previous weeks, but we're going to get right into it. William Young, did Chicago ever do making ceremonies like New York? If so, what time of year did these ceremonies begin? Chicago is the mafia, just like the regular mafia. I'm sure it's very, very similar. It may deviate from what they do as far as ceremony, but for the most part it's exactly the same. I don't think there's a particular time of year. It just kind of came down to whenever the books were open and when they weren't. So hopefully that answers that, but that's not really something to go in depth with because it's pretty similar across the board. Michael Roy, did you ever watch Boardwalk Empire? If so, how accurate is it in terms of the characters? I could never get into Boardwalk Empire. Not because I thought that it was a bad show. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's, maybe it's the theme. I could never really get into it, and I really tried to sit down and get into it at one time, but I just couldn't get past it. It just seemed a little droll to me, and I think that from a gangster aspect, it was gangster, don't get me wrong. I'm not really familiar with it, other than to say that I know that Steve Buscemi played Nucky, I believe, and I saw bits and parts of him, but a different time period, so maybe that had a lot to do with it. But I don't feel comfortable saying like anything bad about it because I really haven't seen the show. So, did the mob just now prior to Prohibition, in your opinion? Do you think the mob could have went on to become an organized? Do you think the mob could have went on to become the organized crime powerhouse that it became? That's a hard question. If I'm understanding your question correctly, looking back on Mob Street back in the day, were completely different. It was sort of chaos. There wasn't a whole lot of everything. So I think if you're making the comparison of like street gangs today, I think it's very similar. I don't think there's any structure in street gangs today. I know a lot of people say there is, but I think it's say is or was at any point. But the other part of that question is, do I think that these Italian street gangs from back in the day, being in today's time period, would they have been able to become a powerhouse? I don't think so. I think today's time period is a lot different. I think street gangs are a lot different these days. Shooters obviously are getting younger and younger and younger. And I think you have too many different culturally... I mean, there's too many different cliques, there's too many different crews, too many different street gangs. Whereas if you go back to the 20s and 30s, you have 3, 4, 5 main gangs. Now it's like there's a different crew, a different set, a different clique on every street corner in New York City. So, and that would be everything from MS-13 to the Latin King. It just kind of branches off from there and there and there. And then there's a little smaller subgroup. So I don't think... given the time period of today, especially with social media and surveillance techniques, there's no way I don't think the mob could have risen, say, from today's time period. And that's what's going to haunt them actually going forward, too. Okay, Johnny LaRue, my favorite name. I love this guy. Do you think the mafia had J. Edgar Hoover on the take or had dirt on him? He denied the mafia's existence for a long time. Of course they did. What they actually had was photos of him wearing ladies' undergarments, and I know that's like a big joke that a lot of people don't believe, but that's the reality of it. First of all, J. Edgar Hoover was taking money from the mob. They were giving him money to keep it sort of hush-hush, but then on the offside of that, J. Edgar Hoover was a cross-dresser, and the mob had photos of him in very precarious positions, so it was in his best interest, not only politically, but socially, to sort of just keep his mouth shut and continue to go, because that was the big secret, right? He didn't know anything, and even when the proof was there, he still kept coming out saying they didn't exist. So, yes, obviously they had dirt on him as far as photos and other things. Just politically, it would have been a bad move for him. Especially in those days. The society was not open to transgender, lesbian, gay, bi, and all of that kind of good stuff. So that's obviously that. Okay, Julian, I do not know how to pronounce your last name, Julian, so if I get this wrong, I apologize. Julian Mua, M-U-I-A. Muia? I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyway, Julian M., how about that? Why was the Chicago outfit called the outfit? Obviously because they wore a specific type of dress. There was a dress code. The outfit, you see the guys over there in the outfits? Yeah, that's them. There you go. That's how that came about. Why was Chicago not called the Giancana family or the Capone family? How devoted was Capone to the mafia's rituals and structure? Selwyn Rabb said that Capone saw himself as a gangster, not a mobster. You're right. Selwyn Rabb is absolutely right. Capone did not see himself in any stretch of the imagination as mafia. He was straight gangster. But you also got to remember that what a lot of people will not tell you about Al Capone is Al Capone took orders from New York. Al Capone was from Brooklyn. He went out west. It was to the Midwest. It was his decision to do that. He took over by violence, obviously. But a lot of the things that Al Capone really kind of became had to do more with the New York family sort of allowing him to do it. Now, there's going to be those that are going to argue this, but at the end of the day, the reality is New York told Al Capone what to do and not the reverse. However, Al Capone was a strong guy, and he had a lot of opinions and shared his opinions with the commission and stuff like that. But he was under essentially their control, and I know that he really fucking aggravated them in the end with some of the stuff. They make comparisons to John Gotti, and I don't really want to do that, but he was very, very visual, didn't hide who he was for any reason. Excuse me. And that ultimately came back to haunt him. But the reason why they weren't called the Capone family or the Giancana family was because that would have needed to be supported by New York. And New York had 5 families. They weren't going to have a 6th, weren't going to have a 7th, weren't going to have an 8th. There were 5 families. And Chicago was very much underneath the New York. So that being said, I don't think Capone's interest was being called the Capone family. He was a straight gangster, and I think he just liked the idea of being a street hoodlum more than he did sort of anything. As far as him being devoted to the structure, as far as I know, Al Capone really wasn't a structure type of guy. It was pretty much the bottom line every day. This is what needs to get done. Go do it. I have heard that Chicago actually paid percentages versus something off of each sort of racket. So guys would get a structured pay scale, based on like a weekly sort of income versus you get 10% of this deal because you did this, you get 20% of that. So from my understanding is that Al Capone structured it very differently. And the difference was he would kill you for nothing too. To Al Capone was a very good businessman. He was very shrewd in the way that he dealt with things, but I don't think he was really, when you say Cosa Nostra, I don't think Al Capone was Cosa Nostra. Al Capone was like Pablo Escobar. He was straight gangster, and there's some big differences. I mean, just look at Al Capone in comparison to, say, somebody like Carlo Gambino. There's a huge difference in the way that they act, a huge difference in the way that they delegate authority. So I think that's pretty much clear. But Selwyn Rabb was absolutely right when he says that Capone saw himself straight up as a gangster and not a mobster. So that being said, all right, Jim Guerin, you said John Gotti didn't kill anyone. What happened on the Jimmy McBratney hit then? Okay, this is something that John Gotti gets credited with because he was responsible for taking care of business. Jimmy McBratney and also Henry Center killed Manny Gambino, who was Carlo Gambino's nephew. The order was given to John Gotti to have it taken care of. John Gotti, unfortunately, had the mispleasure of having to deal with somebody that Paul Castellano wanted on it, and that was probably just to ensure that it went down. And the problem was the guy that they took was a little loose cannon, didn't really want to go with the plan, Ralph Gallione, and essentially what ends up happening is they go to the bar, they find McBratney, he's got to go, and before whatever sort of, and I wasn't there, so this is going to be speculation on my behalf. Whatever the plan might have been to either lure McBratney outside the bar, because I can't imagine that anybody is going to like kill somebody in front of like 70 people in a bar. That's just not going to happen. From what I understand, Ralph Gallione just decides to take it upon himself to do it, and he pops McBratney, but because Gotti was recognized in the bar, he essentially was going to end up taking a pinch for it, and that's exactly what sort of happened. But for some reason, there's this lore that John Gotti's the one that shot him, and that's absolutely unequivocally not true. And that's the bottom line. And it's not to say in any stretch of the imagination that I am trying to dummy down John Gotti's role in that, because it is what it is. Retribution is retribution. The fact that Manny Gambino was killed for ransom, the ransom was collected, and they still killed him anyway. You know what? It is what it is. As the laws of the streets are going to speak louder than anything, especially in that time period. So, did he pull a trigger? Absolutely not. But was he there? Did he take part? Yeah, absolutely. So, saying that he actually physically did that is sort of a misnomer. All right, Johnny LaRue, who from the American Cosa Nostra attended the meeting in Sicily at the Grand Hotel del Palms in the 1950s. Now, if you don't know what Johnny LaRue is talking about, there was a mafia meeting in 1957 at the Hotel del Palms in Sicily, and it took place over 4 days from October 12th to the 16th. Those in attendance were Joe Bonanno, Carmine Galante, Santo Sorge, Lucky Luciano, Frank Garofalo, John DeBella, Vito Vitale, Gaspari Magaddino, Joe Adonis, Frank Coppola, and John Bonaventura. And then on the Sicilian side of that was Salvatore Greco, his cousin Sal Greco, Giuseppe Russo, Angelo Barbara, Gaetano Baldamente, Calcedonio de Pisa, Cesar Manzella, and obviously Tommaso Buscetta. And the reason for the meeting was essentially narcotics trafficking. The American Mafia wanted the Sicilians to take over the importation and distribution of heroin. And the reason why they wanted that is because they felt, American Cosa Nostra bosses felt like they were going to risk way too much. And if they could allow the Sicilian side to sort of bring it in, import it, cut it up, and et cetera, then it would just be better for business, especially when you consider the heroin at this point was coming from Afghanistan into Corsica, into Paris, through Sicily, and et cetera, through Canada to Buffalo, New York. And you can just sort of, one day we'll discuss how that whole trafficking network worked. But in return for sort of taking over the distribution and the production, they would get a percentage of the rackets, and they would get protected. As well, the Sicilians would be subcontracted to all 5 families of the Mafia for murder. So if the Genoveses needed somebody taken out, hey, call the Zips. If Profaci needed something done, hey, call a Zip, and et cetera. So they were pretty much on loan to all the 5 families for murder. Prior to the meeting, Sicily was simply just a staging point for French-produced heroin. You've obviously heard of the French Connection. Back in those days, Sicily was just a point. There was a staging point for heroin coming from Afghanistan into Corsica, Sardinia, Sicily. At that point, it was mainly French-produced and French-owned. And this essentially, as a result, sort of it would take a couple of years for this to happen. We're not talking like 2 or 3, like more like a decade. But the American Mafia essentially meeting with the Sicilian faction essentially put them in business. And today, that's where the majority, I don't want to say the majority, because MS-13 and the Sinaloa cartel has taken over a lot of shit at this point. But from production from that side of the world is mainly coming from there now. They're still importing, obviously, opiates from Afghanistan, et cetera. But that meeting essentially put the Sicilians on the map as far as creating someone like Toto Riina. That effectively was set the roadmap for that. And so that's essentially what they were about. It was just about drug distribution. So the idea here that none of them sold drugs, especially Joe Bonanno, who constantly said he never had anything to do, is full of shit. They were all involved in it, all took a cut from it, tongue-in-cheek, and you'll hear every mob blogger, every mob radio show host, every mob expert say the same thing, tongue-in-cheek. And it's essentially it's not don't sell drugs, don't get caught selling drugs. Also at the meeting, Joe Bonanno requested that the Sicilians form their own commission to avoid disputes, which was sort of laughed at because the Sicilians did their thing. They didn't need to be like the American mob. Was it a good suggestion on Bonanno's behalf? Probably. It probably was a good suggestion, but you got to understand that they operate on their own terms. To follow an American model, it's just almost insulting. So obviously that didn't happen, but that's what the meeting was about. That's what took place. And that was a great question. That really was. I enjoyed that question. Okay, Eric Madero. In your opinion, who is the most powerful organized crime group in the United States? This is going to shock everybody, but I think the El Chapo. And the reason why I say that, Mexican cartels, Sinaloa cartels, the reason why I say El Chapo, and this is something a lot of people don't get, El Chapo owned Chicago. He says late 90s, he says, you know what, I want Chicago to be my base. 90, it's like something fucking insane. Like that, all that's in Chicago are in Chicago, and those working and selling and moving and importing, it's all done by El Chapo. This guy, fuck Pablo Escobar. If you thought Pablo Escobar was the fucking man, you're dead wrong. Because El Chapo not only owned Canada, South America, Asia, Russia, this guy was all over the fucking map. So who do I think the most powerful? I don't think the American Mafia is anywhere near as powerful, obviously, as they were, and I don't think they're as powerful as the cartels. And that for many reasons. And the first reason would be just the fact that the American Mafia doesn't kill children, doesn't cut the heads off of children and put them on a lamppost for everyone to see. There's a huge difference there. There's a big fear in, Jimmy one on the street and putting two in the back of your head because you owe him money versus Jimmy one arm coming down the street and decapitating your kid. There's a big difference in the fact that these cartels are willing to go to that amount of incense. That's a big difference. Big difference. And that's not by any means to say that the American Mafia is any stretch of the imagination softer. They're not. But the reality is, what you could do in 1960 is not what you can do today with surveillance techniques in the FBI. And so it comes, I have to bring this point up, because it sort of aggravates the shit out of me. FBI continues to go after the Bonanos, the Gambinos. What about this 13 shit? Enough of this already. I'm sorry, but a 13-year-old who's fucking nuts with a gun is a lot more scary to me than a 40-year-old guy sitting at a fucking Italian fucking restaurant who's collecting Vig Loan Shark or bookmaking. Come on. That's more. How many murders have been in Long Island? Come on, get real. And they are doing something about it. It's not like they're not, but it's like, for Christ's sakes, why don't you put the money, the fucking effort into going and getting these fucking pukes off the street? Stop fucking with the other guys. You know what I mean? Yeah, okay, a crime is a crime is a crime, right? But are you seeing what these fucking kids are doing? It's disgusting. But as far as who is, I honest to God think most powerful at this point is going to be a cartel. I think El Chapo, but I think Sinaloa cartel. I think MS-13 is very, very strong. They're ruthless. There is an incredibly amount of difference. There's a huge difference. Like I just said, between these are 13 guns and like chopping heads off and shit like that. And if you don't think I'm telling you the truth, look at some of the shit that's happening in Long Island. The bodies they're finding in the fucking reservoirs from this MS-13 shit. They don't discriminate. Children, women, midgets, goats, whatever. They don't give a fuck. They will kill you. You become an informant, they will kill you. It's that simple. You really think, when's the last time that you saw a mob hit on an informant? Like, realistically, in the last 15 years in New York. You got to go to Philadelphia for the Billy Vesey hit. That's the last time I think we've seen that. So the reality is that I think that the cartels have superseded the American Mafia in terms of being powerful. Whatever happened to the Los Angeles crime family? Are they still around? They are not really around. They're sort of defunct at this point. They have a Gambino conglomerate there, but it's not what it was. It's been pretty much done since the days of Jack Dragna, and there were some others that came in, but for the most part, it's pretty much over with. Okay, Richard Smith. I recently discovered Tony Salerno is worth billions of dollars. How could he launder that kind of cash? Very simply, through rackets, through legitimate enterprises, through property, real estate. That's essentially how you bury that. Did the Fed seize that cash when he went away for life? They seized a high amount of cash, but he still went away with a lot of money, absolutely. Does the mob in New Jersey sold a lot of power? How close was the Sopranos to the DeCavalcantes? The mob in New Jersey is... See, the problem is there's so much representation from all five families in Jersey at this point. Obviously, you got Philly, the Genoveses are very strong in Jersey as well. Gambinos have representation there. Even those have representation there. But the thing is that the idea of DeCavalcantes being house anymore is all but effectively the point. It's sort of a mixing pot of like a whole bunch of different people. So are they strong? Are they powerful? Not nearly as New York. But as far as the Sopranos being close to the DeCavalcantes, I think the Sopranos legitimately is closer to Philadelphia, to be honest with you, than it ever would be to the DeCavalcantes. There is some tongue-in-cheek about, New York looking down on New Jersey. That's always the way it's been, and that's probably the way it always will be. But the reality of them being close, absolutely. Well, it depends on which era of DeCavalcantes you're talking about. Now, if you're talking about like the late 80s, early 90s, yeah, you could draw some real serious parallels there, and I think that David Chase definitely drew from that. But I think just sort of with the violence and stuff, I think they're closer to Philadelphia in that extent, especially when you look at the history of the gang that couldn't shoot straight, and that's essentially what Philadelphia was for a long time. But if you're talking like the early 90s and Wiggles, the strip club, yeah, you can make that comparison. So I think it's a bit of everything, to be honest with you. Okay, Adriana Manny Cervantes. Is Los Angeles still active? No. They have, I just said that they have a small subgroup of Gambinos there, but it's not really what it was. It never probably will be. Geraldine Della Croce. Is it true that Joey Merlino never once pled guilty to a case? Nope, Joey's never pled guilty to anything in his life. Joey Merlino is probably never going to plead guilty to anything in his life, even though now in Philadelphia what we are seeing is there is a new mob rat who is going to testify against Joey Merlino. Presents sort of some problems with Joey Merlino, but I think I want to cover that probably more in depth than an actual radio show itself. Mark D'Amico. What American mob boss would you say closely resembled Toto Rina in violence and intelligence? Intelligence-wise, obviously, I think Carlo Gambino is as smart as they come. As far as violence, take your pick. My God, there's so many, but I think probably Gaspipe Casso. I don't even think Gaspipe had the sort of violent streak that Toto Rina did. But if there's somebody that's maybe Roy DeMeo, but maybe Tommy Patera. You know what? I think Tommy Patera probably more so than Anthony Gaspipe Casso at this point as far as being violent. Jack Lamb, who are your top mid-level guys who due to a situation and circumstance could have been boss, but decided not to. But just decided not to go for the top spot. There's a lot of guys that I think realized early on in their mob career that being at the top spot was like a very, very bad idea. As far as names, that list is so incredibly long. But I think if I'm going to make an argument of who should have been a boss and wasn't able to become a boss, is obviously Neil Della Croce. I think he would have been fantastic. I think he would have been he's street smart guy, tough guy, deadly guy, highly intelligent guy. That's a guy that really could have run a family the right way. Fortunately, he never really got an opportunity to do that. But there's a lot of guys that I think at some point could have been at the top, but for whatever reason they decided it was better to just, let me just sit over here and let them do their thing and make their money. And those would be the smart guys. So I don't really have like a name of a bunch of guys, but I take it from the aspect of guys that probably should have been boss, and I think Neil Della Croce is at the top. Casey McCracken, who is the most powerful, what's been the most powerful Italian syndicate in California or west of Vegas? Really, it depends what time period. If you're talking today, absolutely nothing. If you're talking about the 60s, obviously Chicago. Only because Chicago was out in Vegas and stuff like that. California, nothing really. There's nothing. There really wasn't ever anything there that was powerful. There really isn't anything there now that is powerful. West of Vegas, there's just not a whole lot. John K. Prosser, what do you think of law enforcement's current refocus on the Chicago outfit? Here's the problem with this, and I sort of alluded to this earlier, but maybe I should get more in-depth by it. Let me grab a swig of coffee here. First of all, Chicago, the branch of the FBI can go after Chicago and the outfit all goddamn day long. The problem isn't the mob there. It's El Chapo. He runs Chicago. That's the way it is. He controls the drug market there. He controls all the runners there. So the idea that the FBI is refocusing their sort of investigations on the mob is pretty fucking pathetic. I think they really need to look at other things. I think there are bigger pressing issues, street violence-wise, with MS-13, Latin Kings, who are all working for El Chapo. Why don't they focus their attention on that shit? They don't. Chicago is a drug den. Everything that comes into Chicago is effectively run by El Chapo, even with them sitting in jail in Manhattan. He's still running things. So the idea that law enforcement's going back after Chicago, and like, listen, after 9/11, they refocused a lot of energy into anti-terrorism and et cetera, et cetera. So that allowed a lot of the mob groups to sort of rebuild. But now what you're seeing now is they're saying, all right, let's go back and hit these guys again. I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, and this is my opinion, I think there are people that are more deadly and more severe and that need to be in jail a hell of a lot sooner than Tony, Vito, and Dante that make book out of a corner store that aren't really bothering nobody. You know what I mean? So I think the idea that they're focusing on the mob once again in Chicago is sort of stupid to me. I think there's other issues there that they need to take. I mean, look at the fucking murder rate, for Christ's sakes, in Chicago. They're going to focus on the mob? What about the murder rate? You know, so take it as you want, but that's just my opinion. Robert Sunafrank, do you feel like Tony Accardo would survive in today's Chicago outfit without going to jail? Absolutely not. I think today's mafia is a different mafia. I think today's technology is different technology. And let's be really honest about it. A lot of guys can't keep their fucking mouth shut, and a lot of guys become rats. And that's the reality of it. Guys don't want to do time in jail. They talk about, oh, there's no more loyalty, there's no more honor. It's been that way since probably 1960. Different time period, this myth and this lore that people live with by watching The Godfather and all these stupid fucking films that don't portray that lifestyle accurately in any sense and sort of make it like this operatic fantasy, is that at the end of the day, you get in, you get killed. You either snitch or you die. That's really the result. There is no like riding off in the fucking sunset on a horse. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen like that. So do I think that Tony Accardo in today's time period? Absolutely not. I think it's different. Everything is underground now, and things just aren't the same. A good example would be like racketeering, extortion. Let's use extortion. The days of going into a corner store in New York City and saying, listen, you're going to pay me $300 a week in protection, or you're not getting your deliveries, you're going to have problems, we're going to break out your windows, we're going to beat you up. The days of people going in and doing that, they're over. They've been over for a long time. Now, you want to go down to the garment district, that's a totally different story. That still goes on down there. But as far as like people going into to corner bodegas and shaking down somebody, it just doesn't happen anymore. Those days are done. Those days are done, because you know what happens? Everybody's got cameras now, and they pick up a phone and they dial the police. That's the reality of it. Let's see, Luis Markel, why do you think so many people hate John Gotti? All right, this. Oh boy, do I take so much shit about this. Listen, a lot of people don't like John Gotti because John Gotti was attractive. John Gotti was smart. But John Gotti was very public. And there is this, how to say this? Let's use Elvis Presley as an example for this, okay? Elvis Presley, once he became famous, really couldn't go anywhere, right? He couldn't go out in public. He was swarmed by media, swarmed by fans. And sure, there is a big difference between Elvis Presley and John Gotti. So before you come at me and say, well, he was a musician, this guy was a gangster, what the fuck are you talking about? What I'm saying is, as far as icons and being highly visible and being highly recognizable, if anybody thinks that John Gotti is sitting in his house over in Howard Beach, has nothing better to do on a Sunday than pick up the phone and go, hey, page 6, I'm coming out the fucking house, then I'm going to go to fucking this place and that place and this place, that's where I'm going to be, just letting you know. If you think that's what he did, you're dead wrong. Because that's not what happened. Everywhere he went, he became, unfortunately, the face of the American Mafia in New York City. He's good looking, he was charismatic, he was funny, he was witty. He had everything. He was like the Al Capone of his day. So people don't like that because they feel like John Gotti should have stepped away from the limelight. He should have just hidden in his house. And yeah, there is an argument to say he probably should have done that. However, this is John Gotti we're talking about. I don't know if you're familiar with who he is, but this guy didn't take a back seat to nobody, wasn't going to hide. He knew who they were. I mean, come on, look. The idea that the FBI didn't know who he was, get real. Could he have made it less easier for them? Absolutely. But then at what point can you not go to the store and pick up groceries? At what point can you not go out and pay a fucking bill? That's just the reality of it. Should it have been a little bit more hidden? Absolutely. And I don't think there's anybody that's going to disagree with me on that. Then there are others that are going to say that he got caught talking on wiretaps and he brought down the mob. That's bullshit. He didn't bring down anybody. Sammy Gravano brought down the fucking mob. Doesn't matter what the fuck John Gotti. If John Gotti wants to open his mouth and say, this is what happened, that's what happened, that's on John Gotti. That's on him. He can go to jail for saying that stuff. But John Gotti's not the one that fucking turned rat. He's not the one that threw like 100 people under the bus. And so a lot of people have this opinion that John Gotti talking on a wiretap is what led Sammy the Bull Gravano to do what he did. If you believe that, then please, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. Sammy Gravano was always going to fucking rat. That's what his bottom line was. He didn't want to do fucking time. His bullshit story about him and Frankie Locascio getting together saying they're going to kill John Gotti if they get a chance. Bullshit. I don't believe any of that. You know, Sammy Gravano, the ends justified the means for him. Well, you know what? I don't want to go to jail, so they want John really bad. I can get out of jail for 19 murders and then go out and sell drugs to children, which is what he did. So, did John Gotti make mistakes? Absolutely. I don't think there's anybody that's going to tell you he led a perfect life. He did everything the right way. But why people hate him is because there are people that love him because he was who he was. Here I am. Love me or loathe me. But go fuck yourself. This is who I am. I live this 24/7. But there were other guys that were just as out as he was, just as recognizable as he was. The problem was the media chose. The media chose to glorify him in that respect. He didn't ask for that. Think that's what he wants? Please. But I can understand from the other side of that why people think he should have just been a little less available. But then again, how can you make yourself less available when the press follows you around nonstop? They did the same thing to Vinny Gigante. The only difference is literally would piss himself in his bathrobe in front of everybody to prove a point that he was crazy. John Gotti was going to do that? Please. So, from that perspective, I understand why people don't like John Gotti, but I think his history is going to look. There's always flaws and there's always mistakes that are made, but the reality is I think that John Gotti takes a lot of flack for what happened to the Gambino crime. It was Sammy Gravano that did it. Now, if you want to make the argument that John Gotti should have killed Sammy Gravano, totally agree there. And I think that was coming quicker than a lot of people think and a lot of people suspect. The mistake that John Gotti made, if I'm going to be public about a mistake he made, is he allowed that fucking bastard Sammy Gravano to be an underboss. That was a really bad mistake. Horrible mistake. And I think John Gotti did it halfway through his tenure that he had made a mistake. Just listening to wiretaps in general, there's something to be said for listening to a wiretap and taking your own opinion from it, using words like alleged. But if you really go back and you listen to these wiretaps, which I have done for hours upon hours for years, is that you realize that John Gotti is realizing Sammy Gravano's lying. He's realizing that Sammy is multiplying his businesses, asking for people to be killed and killing people to take over their business because he was greed. He was greedy. And John Gotti recognizes that, but by the time John Gotti recognizes it, it's too fucking late. It's too late. And then Sammy fucking turns and rat, and that's the end of that. So, if people don't like John Gotti, they're entitled to not like him. I have no problem with people like John Gotti. I am not a John Gotti spokesman. I'm not a Gotti spokesman. I never have been. I never will. I just particularly am fond of certain people over others, whether it's the fact that he's good-looking, charismatic, smart, deadly. Listen, it's my opinion. You don't have to like my opinion. And a lot of people say I'm biased, and I am. And I'm biased for a reason, but that's no reason. About my background has nothing to do with me knowing this person or that person, but the people that are close to me in my circle know why I have that opinion, and that's just not for public consumption at this point, and that's just between me and my life, so if you like them, great. If you don't like them, it's no skin off my chest, you know what I mean? So that's the reality of that. Okay, Mark D'Amico, can you explain why anyone would put themselves out there as a street boss or a front boss to be some layer of protection for the real boss, sort of like Tony Salerno did? It seems like a dumb move. Well, we can argue it's a dumb move, but certain people live Cosa Nostra 24/7. There are some extended features to being a street boss, but it's the reality of the life. You choose to be, if you're going to be something, you be it 24/7. You can't decide to join the army and be a soldier 3 hours a day. You know, that's a serious thing. You can't decide to be a heart surgeon and say, well, I'm only going to do this 4 hours a day. There's people that need you, people that need to get things done. So the idea that anybody would stand up and protect somebody they care about, I think that's honorable. Can we argue that it's dumb? Sure, from the outside. It's easy from the outside looking in to say, yeah, that's a dumb fucking move. But guess what? This is the life. This is what they've signed up to do. This is what they believe in. When you believe in something, it's for the greater good of something else. And that's what Tony Salerno did. It was for the greater good of something else. And he could have easily turned around and said, this isn't going to happen. He took his pinch and he went away like a man. That's what a man does. You know? And so we can argue if it's a stupid move from our aspect because none of us are involved in organized crime. But when you believe in something hardcore and fully 100%, that's what you do. And that's that. David Fitzgerald was Tony Spilatro and Frank Calabrese Sr., the outfit's two top enforcers after the demise of Sam DiStefano. And who was more feared or vicious? I think Sam DiStefano was absolutely a psychopath, more vicious than Tony Spilatro, which Tony Spilatro actually ended up killing him in a garage in Chicago. But yeah, Tony Spilatro and Frank Calabrese effectively took over as the two top enforcers. But like Tony Spilatro had a lot of problems, sort of like a Nicky Scarfo issue, and they threw him out in Vegas. You know, there's the argument that they put him in Vegas to watch over stuff, but really they put him out in Vegas to get him the fuck out of Chicago because he couldn't stop hurting people, couldn't stop drawing attention to himself. So that's the reality of why Tony Spilatro was sent out there to begin with. B. John, my question is about the making ceremony. Why is it when guys are asked, do you know why you're here, they say no? Why the pretense? What would happen if they said yes? Well, first of all, the idea that that's actually said in a making ceremony, I couldn't tell you. I've never been in one of those. I've heard some wiretaps of some. It's not even really pretense, it's ceremony. It's ceremony. It's the way things have been done for 100 years. What would happen if they said yes? There'd probably be a lot of laughter in the room. You know what I mean? It just depends on the seriousness of the people that are involved. But I've never been to one of those, never will be to one of those, so I don't know if that's specifically what the deal is, but I would assume that naturally it's because you're just supposed to deny. It's one of those things, deny, deny, deny. So, let's see. Whatever happened to Vinny Ocean? Vinny Ocean Palermo actually became a rat, moved to Houston, Texas. He buys a bunch of strip clubs, starts selling drugs out of the strip clubs, gets in trouble. 2009, the Daily News in New York reported about that he was living in Houston and that he had problems getting pinched for drugs and etc. And then he ends up taking off and fleeing out of Houston, scared for his life. And as of 2015, his house is still for sale. And I don't know much more about him other than that at this point. How would you rate the strength of the four families that have power in New Jersey? Genovese, Gambino, Lucchese, Philadelphia, DeCavalcantes. Okay. The Genoveses, I think, are probably... in New Jersey, I think the Genoveses probably carry more weight, followed by the Gambinos. Lucchese's would be probably fourth, and Philadelphia would probably be third at this point. John Malecki, is Philadelphia stronger than the current state of the Bananos or Columbus? Man, that is a good question. I think so in the sense that Philadelphia numbers are bigger than what they've ever been before. But the problem is, and I've said this so many times, the problem is that you're fighting over 10 fucking rackets. You got 70 made guys, 75 made guys on the streets. Doesn't count for associates. That becomes a problem. So is Philadelphia stronger? I don't think they're stronger in the sense of they're more ruthless, more they're spreading out. So maybe I misspoke. You know what? I don't think so. I don't think Philadelphia is as strong as the Columbos in New York or the Bonanos. Absolutely not. They're not. They're not that strong at all. However, Philadelphia's growing, but the problem is going to be is that Philadelphia, they just can't keep it together. You know, they operate in a very small area. And as we're seeing from the sweeping indictments that are coming nonstop with Philadelphia, it sort of never ends. Philly can't catch a break. You know what I mean? And the stuff with Merlino, if Merlino goes away to jail or prison, that's going to create a vacuum power effect in Philadelphia, which is going to cause things to get a little nasty. But I want to really save all that for another show. I really do. So all of that being said, I wanted to thank everybody for the questions that they submitted. Sorry it took so long to get the shows out, but I have a life and I have other things that I do have to take care of on a daily basis other than this radio show. For the speculation that I'm getting paid some exorbitant amount of money for this, you're full of shit. I don't get peanuts. Like, listen, peanuts. When I tell you peanuts, I mean peanuts. I'm not taking an income. It's okay. So a lot of this is done really when I have downtime and stuff like that. But all that being said, I just wanted to thank everybody for submitting questions and definitely being engaging enough to send me messages, even threats. Threats are hilarious. Your Jimmy Calandras of the world, or that's what they're going to do. They want to be heard. And I would, no problem. If people got a beef with something that I say, listen, this is how you handle it. You don't fucking message, you motherfucker, cock, and all these horrible words they use or whatever. You don't got to come at me like that. Say, hey, this is what I got a beef with. I will talk to you about it, and I will talk to you. I'm not going to hide from nobody. I never had. The idea that these people keep saying I'm fucking hiding. Like, really? Like, I'm out in the open. Like, incredibly out in the open. What do I got to hide for? What, is the spooky ghost going to get me? I don't have to hide from nobody. And you know why I don't hide from anybody? Because I don't fear anybody. And you know why I don't have to fear anybody? Because I do nothing wrong. I don't break laws. I do a radio show. Get real. I write articles. That's what I do. But for those people that want to make threats, go to Jerry Capisci and make a threat. Watch how quick the FBI is banging on your door. Because that's exactly what's going to happen. I've told that story a million times of what happened to me. The FBI was banging on my door very quickly. And that's the reality of it. You can't, day of social media, you just can't make threats. The idea that, if you meet me on this corner, I guarantee you won't say nothing to me. I guarantee I will. I don't think, listen, this isn't a matter of being tough guy. This isn't braggadocious. I never claimed to be any of those things. What I will tell you is this, and anybody that knows me will tell you this about me. I don't back down from nobody. If I have an opinion, I'm going to share it. Just because you were some big, scary, bad dude in 1980, you think that I'm going to cower in a corner and I should bow down to you and be like, oh, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, please. You don't know me very well. I don't back down from nobody. I'm not afraid of anybody. There's no reason to be. I talk about the history of the mafia. What do I talk about that's relevant to today's time period? Realistically. That's the argument. I laugh with my attorney all the time about these. What the fuck? You don't even about like current shit. There's a reason why I don't. It's not fear. It's just a respect thing. I'm not going to out somebody. If somebody's doing something, who am I to out them? It's not my job. I talk about the history. I talk about Philadelphia as I can. But the reality is I talk about history. I talk about Vegas, Chicago, Cuba. So like the John A. Lights and the fucking Jimmy Calandras and the Billy Catolos and the Sean Richards and the Steve Sergios and the Richie Oliveris. I mean, and the list can go on and on. I shouldn't say Richie Oliveri because Richie Oliveri is not a snitch. Definitely not a snitch. He's an alright guy. I actually don't have a problem with Richie. Richie's an alright guy. All my interactions with Richie were very, he's a level-headed, nice guy. Brick. I just think that there was just probably a situation that got out of control. That's the reality. But he's got a good story, though. I will tell you this. Richie's got a good story. If you're looking for an interesting read, check out the Cowboy Crew. From, I think it was back in the... Interesting story. They would kidnap drug kingpins and hold them for ransom. A really interesting story, believe it or not, that I worked on a little bit with him. But there were some things that happened that we couldn't reach like sort of a business agreement with that. But Richie's not a bad guy. He really isn't. He's sort of a nice guy. But the other ones, they're all the same. Threat. I can't tell you how much I have from people that just, it's absurd. Even Billy Cotolo, when he reached out to me, was nasty, but he wasn't like Jimmy Calandra. Billy was like, at least what Billy was. This other one, like, was having some kind of nuclear meltdown at 6 o'clock in the fucking morning on a Sunday. Who gets up at 6 o'clock in the morning and calls somebody a dick sucker and a Jew and all these crazy things? Like, you get up at 6 first thing. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm going to be homophobic, anti-Semitic, and I'm going to start threatening to crack skulls. 6 o'clock in church. Get the priest to get the demons out of you, or whatever the fuck your problem is. Anyway, that's the show. Thanks for listening in, and I'm sure my witness. Now things are because I talked about somebody. Ooh. Stay tuned for the next show, which is going to be Dutch Schultz.